Grab a pen, open the Notes app on your phone, or pause this podcast and come back to it when you can give it your full attention. Because by the end of this episode, you are going to have a meal plan that is built for your life, not just some template from the internet. And you and I are going to build it together. And in this episode of the Eric Roberts Fitness Podcast, it's stemming from, I literally just got off a call with one of our new clients, Carrie, who signed up for coaching. And before she came to us and signed up, had worked with another trainer previously years ago who had her on a meal plan. And I use that term very loosely because the meal plan was salmon and broccoli and brown rice and egg whites and oatmeal. And she was allowed to have fruit as a treat, or she was allowed to have, some sort of sweet thing that's actually just healthy, sweet thing at night. And I'm not saying that's inherently bad, but being allowed to have fruit as a treat, I don't think that is a way to live life. And I certainly know it's not a way to have a sustainable nutrition plan that you can not only lose weight and get healthy with, but keep the weight off and stay healthy with, because that's what had happened to Carrie. She lost weight. Of course she did. She was eating like 800 calories. Well, she didn't actually know, but when she was telling me her meal plan, I was like, there's no way that's more than 1,000 calories. So yes, she lost weight, but then what happened? She gained it all back and then some, because the second she stopped eating like a robot, she had no idea to eat like a real human being. When life gets busy, she had four kids and a very demanding job. So she had no understanding of why that plan worked, how to adjust it when life got crazy, or how to build something that she could actually sustain. And that plan wasn't built for Carrie, it was built for compliance. And compliance without comprehension or personalization is just a ticking time bomb. At some point, you're going to fall off. So today in this episode, I'm going to show you how to build a meal plan the right way, one that lasts, and one that's built around your life, your preferences, the foods you like, your schedule. And the analogy I wrote down here was, think of your meal plan like a house. Carrie's old trainer gave her a tent. It provides shelter, technically, but it's not built for real life. Like one big storm and it's going to get collapsed and swept away. So what we're building today is a house with foundation, walls, roof. I think of it like, I love the state of Florida because I love beaches, but I also know Florida gets hurricanes. But if you hurricane proof the house, then you're good. And so that's what we're trying to do, where you can handle a random Tuesday where everything goes sideways, where you used to fall off. Or if you're not motivated a couple of days, which you won't be, you still have systems in place to not fall off. So step one, again, open the Notes app on your phone and write down my meal plan. If you're sitting in front of something, if you're listening to this at work, get your pen and paper out. If whatever way you write down this first step here in this workshop moment, write down my meal plan, because we're going to go step by step, section by section. And by the way, this is exactly what we do with our clients in our online coaching program. This is how we think about it. We do this for our clients because it's very much like take out the guesswork, but this is exactly what I'm going to walk you through. So I hope you take it and immediately implement it. All right. Now, section one that we're starting with is the lifestyle audit. You need to start with your life, not with food. So people build meal plans based on what they think they should eat instead of what their life actually allows. They see a fitness influencer's what I eat in a day and try to copy it, ignoring the fact that that person works from home, has no kids, spends all day meal prepping on Sunday for 3 hours. Your meal plan has to be built around your constraints, or it's not It's fiction. It's not real. It's not going to work. And it's not to say that fitness influencers' plan doesn't work, because for them, it does work. But why are you trying to copy what they are doing? You are not living their life. The one analogy I wrote down here is like, I wear a size 13 shoe. Whatever shoe size you are, if you were to put on my shoes, if you're not size 13, they're not gonna fit. So you can't go wear my shoes. You can't go wear some random influencer's shoes, AKA their meal plan. Or you can't just find something off the internet and have a random meal plan that you're going to follow to a T, because it's not built around your constraints. And by the way, everybody has constraints. Every client that we have ever coached, they have constraints with their diet. Some people, it's time. They just don't have a lot of time to cook. Some people do have a lot of time to cook, but it's the guesswork of knowing what to cook. Some people don't have a lot of time to cook, don't know what to cook, and then don't even have somebody else's cooking for them. So they're not as in control. So there's so many constraints that could possibly happen here, but you have to find out what it is so you can build a plan around that. Because until you fix that constraint, until you fix that problem, you'll never get the reward of a sustainable meal plan. So for example, someone who commutes 45 minutes each way to work and has 2 kids under 5, typically they're not going to have the same breakfast routine as somebody who works from home with 2 kids. If the plan says, make an omelet with vegetables every morning at 7 a.m., and this person is, you know, busy packing lunches and getting kids dressed and out the door by 6:45, the plan of make your egg white omelet with vegetables every morning is dead. And that's not a willpower problem of that person. It's a design problem of the plan that they were trying to follow. And this is important because a lot of people, especially with nutrition, will feel like it's my fault. I suck. I don't have discipline. I don't have willpower. And of course, there's a level of that, but at least what I have found, coaching over 25,000 clients in the last 10 plus years, it's usually not about willpower as much as it is building a plan that doesn't require you to have as much willpower. And so before you pick a single food on your meal plan, there's a couple of questions that I want you to answer. And again, for real, like stop and answer these questions for yourself. Unless you don't want to fucking lose weight, unless you don't want to get in shape, then I don't care what you do. But if you actually want to, stop and answer these questions. Number 1, what time do you wake up and what does your morning look like? Is it rushed or relaxed? How much time do you realistically have in the morning for food? Can you cook or can you not? And answer these questions honestly. Like, don't think about what you should do. That's a fictional plan. We're not trying to write a fictional meal plan. We're trying to write a nonfiction meal plan. Because if you don't have time, then maybe your meal plan is going to be a protein shake with a banana. Can't tell you how many clients that we've coached who have like, hey, I have no time in the morning, but I know I want to start my day with high protein. Awesome. Do 2 scoops of a protein powder, put it in some water, have a banana, and now you have 50 grams of protein at breakfast with, 27 grams of carbs and 6 grams of fiber. That's great. That is a great breakfast to have. But if you are trying to like get up and then cook the eggs and cook the egg white omelet and throw in the veggies and the spinach, and you're like, you're not going to do it. Why do you keep trying to do that? You're trying to wear somebody else's shoes. And honestly, the brand I work with for supplements and protein powder is Legion Athletics. So you can head to legionathletics.com and you can use my code ERIC at checkout. If you want to get buy one, get one half off, you can try the different protein powder flavors. I have my own flavor, caramel coconut fudge cookie. I think it's the best one. truly, I do think it's the best one. That's why I built it and why I made it my flavor. So get in there, try it out, and use that protein shake as your breakfast or your lunch or your snack, whatever it is. But very, very underrated tool, and protein powder can be really beneficial for people who are busy and rushed. But side note to the real point, what does your morning look like? Number one. Number two, do you work from home or do you commute? Do you have access to a kitchen during the day? Because your meal plan is going to look very different if you have access to a kitchen versus don't. Or if you only have access to a microwave instead of an oven or a gas top. Or even if you do have access to a full kitchen, but you just don't have time during the day to cook, every single one of those meal plans is going to look different. Somebody who has extra time to cook from 12 to 1 p.m. because they work from home, maybe they can cook and, maybe they can even cook for leftovers for dinner and it might really help them out. But if that's not your reality, stop trying to make it your reality. Maybe you have to do the protein shake and a banana at lunch. Maybe you do go out to eat, but if you were a client of ours, we would look at, all right, where are we going out to eat? Can we go to Chipotle? Chipotle has the calories listed. What kind of bowl are we going to make? We can get it under 500 calories with 40 grams of protein and still enjoy the foods you like. You just change what you're eating. You don't have to go bring even Tupperware to work with you. So, do you work from home or do you commute? And do you have access to a kitchen during the day? Number three, how much time do you realistically have to cook on weekdays? And this is where, again, you have to be honest. Because if you're like, realistically, I got 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, zero time to cook at lunch, and realistically, not like, oh, I'm going to make this perfect Instagram recipe for dinner. But if you're like, realistically, I got 20 good minutes in me to cook dinner at night before I'm like overwhelmed or fuck this, I'll just DoorDash. Like, you need to be honest with, because you can build a plan around that. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck. And I think one of the reasons why our clients see such great progress is we just take their honest answers and we just build a plan around that. Because if we're like, realistically, I got 20 minutes for dinner to cook, cool. You can cook something really good in 20 minutes. Whether it takes the full 20 minutes, whether it's you just cook the protein, but you have frozen sweet potatoes and a bagged salad, you're going to go along the side with it. There's so many options you can do, but unless you're honest about it, then it's not going to matter. So that was number three. Number four, what do your weekends look like? Are they structured or chaotic? And the reason I ask this is because your weekends have to be taken into consideration with your plan. One of the biggest things that we do with our clients when they sign up for coaching is we know the weekends can be tough. So what do? We ask them, what do your weekends look like? We check in with them on the weekends. We plan on Friday. We'll plan ahead for the weekend. It might not look the same as Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, but we're going to make a plan and it's going to be worked into their meal plan. Even if that means they have a bit higher calories, even if that means we work in meals out or we work in some alcohol or we work in some treats. But we have to have a plan for it because that's meal plan. It doesn't mean you can't have this or you can't have that. It just means have a plan for your meals. But unless you take the time to really go through that, you're never going to do it. So number four, what do your weekends look like? And be honest. Number five, do you eat out frequently? And if so, how many times per week and where do you go? So if that's, I go to Chipotle, I DoorDash this, I DoorDash that. Again, this is the way that we approach nutrition with our coaching. It's not, oh, you have to stop going to Chick-fil-A or you're going to stop going to Taco Bell or you're going to stop doing this, stop doing that. It's more like, what are we doing now? And what are some small changes that we might be able to make it an even better option? At one of our previous episodes, I think it was the last episode that just came out with our client Megan and our assistant coach Jenna, she talked about Meg would go to Chick-fil-A. And instead of Coach Jenna being like, you can't go to Chick-fil-A anymore, that's terrible, she was like, hey, maybe we just swap the fries for the side of fruit instead. Or maybe we get those grilled nuggets instead of the regular fried nuggets for more protein and less calories. So you're still doing the same thing. You're just making slightly different choices when you do eat out. Or I know a lot of our clients will message their coach and be like, hey, here's what's going on this weekend. I'm going out for pizza, or I'm going out to this restaurant. What should I do? And them and their coach will go back and forth and work together on creating a plan for what's going to work best for them for that weekend. But you got to have a plan when you go out to eat. And then number 6, this is the last question. Do you have kids or a family that you cook for? Because if you do, you're going to have to take that into consideration. Some people will say, I'm fine cooking separate meals for my family and I, and I'm not going to say that's wrong. And some people, they're like, I'm not cooking different meals for me and my family. That's not wrong either. This is the whole point. You have to be able to find what's going to work for you. But once you do, you can start to create the plan around that. So really quickly, the 6 questions again. What time do you wake up and what does your morning look like? Do you work from home or do you commute? And do you have access to a kitchen during the day? Number 3, how much time do you realistically have to cook on weekdays? Number 4, what do your weekends look like? Number 5, do you eat out frequently? And if so, how many times and where do you go? And number 6, do you have kids or a family that you cook for? These answers to these questions are the foundation. Everything else gets built on top of that. When we onboard a new client for coaching, we ask all these questions. And so once they give us the answers to these questions, it's very easy for us at that point, because we're the experts, to just build a plan from that, because we have all the information we need and we're going to build the personalized plan from the answers that we get. The issue is most people just never ask themselves these questions. And even if they do, they don't really know what to do with it from there. And so that's why we like to take out the guesswork for our clients. And, you hear me talk about coaching all the time, but again, if you're interested in joining our one-on-one coaching program, click the link in the show notes of this podcast. Just click on the podcast, click on description or notes. It'll open up and you can go to the page where it says work with our team one-on-one. So you can click that. You can fill out the application form. You and I will have a chat and we'll see if it's a good fit for you to sign up for coaching. So the link is in the description of the podcast below. And the last little couple things I wrote down here was, you can think of this like a GPS, because before it gives you directions, it needs to know where you are. If you type in the destination without the starting point, it can't help you. Most people skip the starting point entirely. They just pick a meal plan destination, like I want to eat clean, without honestly mapping where they're currently at. And, I'm trying to get you to be brutally honest about your starting point, because once you know that, you can go from where you are now to where you want to be. So I would tell you to write down those 6 answers. And then from there, we will move into the next section, which is setting your calories. So this is the budget. This is what we should be doing per day. I think some of the mistakes that people make here is they either pick an arbitrary number because they're like, 1,200 calories is right for me, or they pick somebody else's number, or they use MyFitnessPal's calculator, which is absolutely terrible. Like, why does it always give 1,200 calories? I don't know. And then they either eat too little and can't sustain it, or they eat too much and wonder why nothing's happening. So a 5'3" woman and a 6'4" man should not be eating the same amount of calories. A sedentary office worker and a construction worker should not be eating the same amount of calories. Hell, even a 5'3" woman who has been lifting weights for 10 years and built a lot of muscle and has a very active lifestyle shouldn't be eating the same amount of calories of a 5'3" woman who has 70 pounds to lose, who has never lifted weights, who hasn't built a lot of muscle. So everybody's situation is different. But I've seen people just follow these generic plans with, 1,200 calories for fat loss. And for one of those people, 1,200 calories is the dumbest thing. For somebody else, I don't know, for somebody who might be stepping on a bodybuilding stage, eating 1,200 calories might be the right answer. Like, context matters. And this is once again with our coaching, not only do we take into consideration your height, your age, your weight, your activity level, but we also take into consideration your progress pictures, your history of workouts, your history of dieting, where you're currently at, where you've been, because all of that will matter with calculating the right amount of calories for you. And side note, but one thing that I'm going to continue to triple down on in the upcoming years as AI continues to be integrated in our everyday life is really just personalization, like the human connection and the human personalization. All those things I mentioned, AI can't really do quite just yet. And, you can feed it information, but actually, we just had somebody sign up for coaching who she was using. I sent an email on this for those of you who read my emails every day, but she was using ChatGPT as her coach. And the reason she signed up was like, Eric, I've been doing this for like the past 3 months and I've seen no progress. It's like, it just tells me what I want to hear. It doesn't give me good information. It doesn't make adjustments. I've been doing the same plan. I don't even know if this plan is right. And so all that said, personalization matters a ton. And so what I would try to do is you're like, well, what's my calorie goal, Eric? Well, a couple of things. You could join coaching and we could tell you exactly what it is. But also, I do have a free calorie calculator in the description below of this video. It's the same formula that we use for our paid clients. So I'm not holding anything back. Obviously, with the calorie calculator, we don't get the chance to see your progress pictures or ask about your previous dieting history or like even somebody's weight. I get a lot of people who tell me, like, I weigh 250 pounds right now. And if you were to look at me, a lot of people are like, wow, you don't look 250 pounds, like because of muscle mass. And so we can't tell those things, but it does at the very least give you a starting point that we use for our clients. And that's the point. Any calculator that you use will give you a starting point. Some are better than others, which is why I just recommend you can use mine. The link is in the description of the podcast below. But it's not a permanent sentence. And so the fact that you can get a starting point and then work from there, track your progress. Is your weight going down? Is your weight going up? Are you staying the same? What is your measurements doing? All these things, we also do with our clients, but you have to track to see if it's working and make adjustments from there. But that's how you would start. And then again, this is your budget for the day. How you spend it is going to matter, because if you make $200 a day, you can't spend $300 a day. You can spend, let's say, 200, but how you spend that 200 matters enormously. Like you could blow it on one expensive dinner and starve the rest of the day, or you could spread it across meals that keep you full, satisfied, functional. It's the same budget, but a completely different experience. And the goal isn't just to stay under budget, it's to spend wisely. So, and that's what we'll do in the upcoming sections of the podcast. So use the calorie calculator, get your calories for the day, and figure out where you need to be from the starting point. So next section, once you got your calories set, and once you realistically answered those questions from the first section, we got those questions answered, calories. Now we're going to go into protein, because the mistake that most people make is they build meals, but they don't build meals or snacks or their entire day of eating with a protein first mindset. Most people just grab what is convenient. They grab what's easy to make, what's in the house, but then they wonder why they're hungry all the time. They're not seeing body composition changes. They might be losing muscle. And so someone who eats, cereal or a bagel for breakfast, they get like maybe 3 grams of protein. Maybe they get a turkey sandwich for lunch, maybe 15 to 20 grams of protein if they're lucky. They have some trail mix as a snack, maybe 6 grams of protein. And maybe they have pasta with meat sauce for dinner. So maybe 20 grams of protein. That's like 40 to 50 grams of protein for the entire day. And for someone who weighs 180 pounds, we're looking to get at the very least double that, if not 120 to 130 grams of protein per day. So like that person would be eating 30 to 50% of the protein they actually need. And it's no wonder why they feel like trash and they're tired and they're hungry and it's not sustainable. It's because you're not getting enough protein in. But remember, going back to the first section with the questions, we have to build protein in a way that's going to be sustainable. So like I said, 3 p.m., a snack as a chicken breast, like that's probably not going to work for you. And it shouldn't. You shouldn't be trying to do that. Maybe instead it's a Greek yogurt packet that you pack at work. Maybe it's a protein shake here. Same thing at breakfast. If you don't have time to cook the egg white omelet, we got to figure out another realistic way to get in some protein. So now that you have your calories set, you're going to think about protein. Not only how much protein should you eat, which, by the way, the calorie calculator will also tell you how much protein you should be eating per day. But that protein gets set first because it's the hardest macro to hit and it's the most important for body composition, satiety, and muscle preservation. Most people can eat enough carbs and fats without trying. It's very hard to eat enough protein without being very intentional, especially in the beginning. As you get more advanced and you build the habit more, it becomes a bit easier. Like for me, it's not hard to hit my protein goal now because I know what I need to do and it's kind of ingrained in me. But I've also been doing this since I was 16. I'm going to be 30 this year in May. Before you have anything, before you eat anything, you need to build every meal or snack around the protein source. So you don't ask, what do I do for dinner? You ask, what's my protein for dinner? And then you would build out from there. And that one single shift can really change everything. And the analogy I wrote down was protein is the foundation for every meal. It's kind of like we talked about building a house earlier. Protein is the concrete walls. The carbs and fats are the furniture. You can rearrange the furniture however you want. You can swap rice for potatoes. You can have more carbs, less carbs, but the wall has to be there or the whole structure collapses. So every time you build a meal, start with the wall and then worry about the furniture. And again, you can click the link in the description of the podcast to get your protein goal. But no matter who is listening to this, I know for a fact, you need to be eating at least 100 grams of protein per day. For many people, more than that, but as a bare minimum, it's got to be triple digits. So now moving into section number 4. So we've answered the questions, we've set our calories, we've set our protein, and no, we need to build everything around the protein first mindset. Now we're going to talk about building your meal structure. So kind of having like a skeleton for your meals. I think the mistake that people make is trying to build a meal plan with, 5 to 6 perfectly timed meals because some article told them to eat every 2 to 3 hours to boost your metabolism. But they work a job where maybe you can't eat from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., or maybe you hate breakfast, or maybe you don't get home until 7 p.m. So the plan will eventually break because it was built for either a hypothetical human or a human who is not them, who is not you. That's why we started the podcast with those 6 questions, because you've got to build this for you, not somebody else. So as an example, take somebody who wakes up at 5:30, commutes to work by 7 p.m., doesn't really get a break until noon, gets home at 6 p.m., puts their kid to bed by 8 p.m. Like, their realistic eating windows are maybe something quick before 6:30 a.m., lunch at noon, doesn't have time to cook it, maybe a snack at 3 to 4 at their desk, and then dinner at 6:30 to 7 p.m. That's like 3 to 4 meals, maybe some snacks, meals and snacks, not 6. And 2 of those meals need to be fast with 0 cooking. That's the structure that you build around, not some theoretical, I'm going to have 5, 6 meals a day. Is this making sense? So that person, we would not tell them, like if they were our client We would not say, oh, okay, you just told us all of this. We're going to have you do 6 meals a day of chicken and broccoli and egg whites in the morning and this, that, the third, where it's not going to work. This is why it's so important to stop following generic plans and generic, like what you see on the internet, and get something that is personalized to you. Because that same person, when they try to go follow a 6 meal a day meal plan with these foods and these meals that are unrealistic, again, they're going to think I suck. They're going to think I have no willpower. I have no discipline. This is my fault. It's not. You're following a plan that is not made for you and it's never going to work. So look at your lifestyle audit answers and then try to map your eating windows. Like, when can you actually eat? Not when you should. When can you eat? And then assign each window a meal type. So the first type is quick or no cook. And these are meals that require zero prep in under 5 minutes. Shakes, overnight oats, grab and go options, those sort of things. Number 2, simple meal prep. And these are meals you can prep or assemble quickly in 10 to 15 minutes. And number 3, real cooking. So these are meals where you have time, you have a kitchen, 20 to 30 minutes. Most people may only have one real cooking slot per day, so you have to build this accordingly. And you can hack this where maybe you do have extra time on Saturday and Sunday to cook some extra food, or maybe for dinner, you cook some extra food for lunch. But you also have to be realistic about that too, because you don't want to spend 5 hours on a Sunday cooking if that's not realistic for you. So again, think of your meal structure like a skeleton. The skeleton determines the shape of the body. Can't change that. Your schedule is the skeleton. The meals are the muscle and the skin that hang on to the skeleton. But if you try to attach the muscles that don't fit the skeleton, you get a mishap and everything falls apart. But if you build muscles that are shaped to your skeleton, everything looks right, it moves right, it works right, and it flows very easily. It moves very easily. So in your notes, wherever you're taking notes on this, write down your realistic eating windows. For each window, label it quick, simple, or real cooking. And be honest. If your morning is chaos, that is a quick slot. Don't pretend you're going to make omelets. If your dinner is your only cook time, that's your real slot. But even in that real slot, remember, you got to be realistic about the real slot. So now you should have a skeleton that looks, something like 6:30 quick, 12 p.m. simple, 3 p.m. quick, 7 p.m. real. Whatever yours looks like, write it down, because that's the frame that we're going to fill. And again, as we're getting into this podcast, like I keep mentioning, when you sign up for one-on-one coaching, this is the first thing your coach builds for you. Not just like a list of foods, but a structure that fits your actual life. Because the best foods in the world don't matter if you're not going to have time to eat them. So if you're interested in joining one-on-one coaching, you can click the link in the description of this video, of this podcast below. You can apply for coaching. You and I will have a chat, and we'll see if you're a good fit. Now, going into section number 5, we have the skeleton now. So we're going to fill in the foods, the meals you'll actually eat. But the mistake people make is people fill their meal plan with foods they think they should eat instead of foods they actually like. They try to force themselves to eat tilapia and asparagus because it seems clean, even though they hate both of those things. Then they try to white knuckle it for 2 weeks. Eventually they break, order a whole pizza for themselves, and the plan failed. Not because of the calories, but because the food was miserable. You're only going to do something you hate for so long. So we will use Carrie's example that I started the podcast with. Her old plan was tilapia, salmon, white rice, broccoli, fruit as a treat. Sure, she could sustain that, especially Carrie, because she's very motivated. She's very disciplined. She's very driven. but she was just relying on pure discipline for a couple of months. Like she was counting down the days until she could eat real food again. In the moment that program ended, she'd eat everything she had been depriving herself of. And that's not a lack of discipline. That is a predictable response to deprivation. Her plan was a prison sentence with a release date. So when you get into building the real food and the meals, build each meal by starting with the protein, like we said, and then asking, what proteins do I actually enjoy? Some people will like ground beef and some people will like chicken thigh, which, by the way, is so much better than chicken breasts. So much juicier, tastes so much better. It's so much better. But some people don't like chicken breasts, but they like salmon. Some people hate fish, but they love ground turkey. Whatever you like. And this is what I struggle with sometimes with people. They're like, well, what should I eat? I'm like, what do you like? What proteins? Like, sure, you got to eat protein, but what proteins do you like? Start with that and then say, what do I actually enjoy eating with this? Because there are no good and bad foods. There are foods that fit your calories and protein that you like, and a meal of chicken, rice, and broccoli might have the same macros and calories as a chicken burrito bowl with salsa and cheese. But one of those is something you'd actually look forward to eating. The other one you'd hate. And the best meal plan is the one that you don't want to quit. Let me say that again. The best meal plan is the one that you don't want to quit, either because you hate it or it's not realistic for you. So let's walk through even what like some of this would look like. So if let's say you have a quick slot, going back to the skeleton, protein shake and a banana, Greek yogurt, granola, and berries, overnight oats with protein powder, pre-made hard-boiled eggs, deli meat roll-ups with cheese. None of these require cooking. They're just assembling very, very quickly. Now, some simple slots, maybe that's meal prepped protein, microwave rice, and some sauce on top. Maybe it's a Chipotle-style bowl assembled from prepped ingredients. Maybe it's a deli sandwich meat on high-protein bread. Maybe it's leftovers from last night's dinner and a tuna or chicken salad with a pre-made salad bag or crackers. That is simple. It requires very minimal time to cook and put together. And then for real slots, like this is where you would actually cook, whether it's stir fries, tacos, sheet pan meals, pasta with meat sauce, burgers, whatever you enjoy making. This is the meal that should feel like more food, not just like, I'm following a diet. But even when you're doing quick or simple slots, you shouldn't feel like you hate the diet, but it's not going to feel like this gourmet thing. And that's also okay. I think Instagram has warped people's perceptions of what their daily food should look like. Trust me, most of our successful clients eat very boring food. It doesn't look very Instagram worthy, but that's what allows for consistency. And so think of your food selection like a wardrobe. You don't need 50 outfits. Maybe some of you do, but you need 10 to 12 like go-to pieces you can mix and match and rotate. The same with meals. You don't need 21 unique meals per week. You need 3 to 4 breakfasts you might rotate, max. 3 to 4 lunches, 5 to 6 dinners, 2 to 4 snacks. Like that's your wardrobe of food. It's simple, repeatable, and you actually like wearing it, or in this case, eating it. So as you're listening to this, for each meal slot that you wrote down, write down 2 to 3 options. Remember, start with the protein and then add what sounds good around it. And don't overthink it. If you like eggs, write eggs. If you like ground turkey tacos, write that. If your lunch is always Chipotle because you work near one, write your Chipotle order that is now going to fit into your calories and your macros. Like the plan has to be made of foods you want to eat or you will not eat them. Okay? That leads us into the 6th section here, which, by the way, this is I don't know, I'm really, really happy with this podcast so far. So if you guys are enjoying this, please take a second out of your day to leave a 5-star rating and review on the podcast. It really helps and it really means the world to me. Out of all the people who listen, I haven't seen a written review on Apple iTunes in like a month. So maybe it's not that good. Maybe not that many people listen, but if you do listen, would really appreciate it. But going into the sixth section, the weekend problem, and this is where we try to plan for real life. And so people build meal plans for Monday through Friday and then treat the weekends like it doesn't exist. And then Saturday hits and you have a brunch, you have a barbecue, you have dinner with friends, drinks, and the plan is now nowhere to be found. And by Sunday night, they've ruined their week and the guilt cycle begins. The plan didn't fail on Friday or Saturday. It failed because it was never designed for Friday or Saturday. And that's what we have to fix. So someone, for example, who eats 1,800 calories Monday through Friday, that's 9,000 calories. Then Saturday and Sunday, when they eat out, drink, snack, and at 3,500 calories each day, that's 7,000 calories for the weekend. So their weekly total is 16,000 calories, and their weekly average is actually 2,300 calories. They think they're eating 1,800 calories because that's what they do Monday through Friday, but they're actually eating 2,300. And they can't figure out why the scale isn't moving on their 1,800 calorie plan. It's like your weekdays was fine, but the absence of a weekend plan erased it. So your meal plan must include a weekend strategy. And I kind of wrote down 3 options here depending on your lifestyle, which is option 1, the same plan. Keep the same structure on weekends if your weekends are relatively structured. Like for me, for the most part, I do the same things. I wake up, I do my work, I go work out, I do these podcasts. Like it's more or less the same. I might go out to eat on the weekend sometimes at night, but that's also when I go out to eat, it's more or less the same foods. So that's option A. Option B, the flexible framework. Keep protein targets and hit those, but allow for more flexibility with food choices. So eat out, enjoy meals, but anchor every meal with protein and keep rough awareness of portion sizes. That's option B. Option C, you can look at it from the weekly budget. So you would eat slightly lighter on the weekends, maybe 100, 200, 300 calories max below your target, to then bank calories for bigger weekend meals. And the reason I say 300 calories max is because you don't want to create this over restrict and then binge cycle because you're over restricting on the weekdays. So it's like if your meal plan was a sports playbook. Like you have your standard plays for normal situations, like that's your weekday plan. But every good team also has some special plays for some special situations. Those are your weekend and social strategies. Like a team that will only practice their regular standard plays gets destroyed when the game situation changes. And it's the same with your nutrition. You need plays for Friday night dinner, Saturday brunch, Sunday barbecue, or your game plan falls apart the second life gets busy. So in your notes, write weekend strategy and pick option A, option B, or option C based on what your weekends actually look like, not based on what is the best or what you should do. If you go out 2 to 3 times in the weekend, option C is probably your best bet. If your weekends are pretty chill, option A might work. There's no wrong answer. It just has to match your real life. And again, this is why I say when we onboard our new clients, the thing we really drive home is like, just be honest with us. There is no shame. There's no guilt. There's no judgment. We just need to get the right information so we can build you the right plan. And again, if you want all of the guesswork taken out for you, and if you want us to take care of all this for you and just tell you exactly what to do, you can click the link in the description of this podcast to apply for our one-on-one coaching. So now that we have that for the weekends, going to section 7, we have to understand the why so we can adjust. So most people follow meal plans like a recipe they don't understand. Like they know what to eat, but not why. And so the moment something changes, they're traveling, food isn't available, they're at a restaurant with no plan approved options, like they freeze and they fall off and they can't adjust because they don't understand the principles behind the plan. They were just given a fish. They were never taught how to fish. So if someone's meal plan says grilled chicken and sweet potato for lunch, and they're at a work event and there's no grilled chicken or sweet potato, but there is grilled salmon with rice, because it's not on the plan, they either skip lunch and binge later, or they say screw it and eat pizza. It's like the irony is the salmon and the rice would have been almost identical nutritionally. They didn't know that though, because they were never taught the why. And this is the issue that most people have. Anybody can follow a meal plan. Even you get ChatGPT to write you a meal plan. Great. You don't understand the why. You don't understand how to adjust. And then that's why you keep falling off. So the why behind every meal is simple. Number one, calories control whether you lose weight or gain weight. Bottom line, end of story. Number two, protein preserves muscle and builds muscle and keeps you full. And number three, the specific foods don't matter nearly as much as hitting those two targets consistently. Once you understand this, you can become adaptable. Chicken isn't magic. It's just a convenient high protein option. But so is fish, turkey, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu, eggs, and a dozen other foods. If you understand the principle, you can swap freely and never feel off plan. This is why when people ask me, what should I eat? It automatically tells me they don't understand the principle behind the why. And you need to understand this if you ever want to make this a sustainable change. So you can think of it like driving versus following a GPS blindly. If someone gives you a turn-by-turn direction to a destination, but never like shows you the map, like you can get there, but the second there's a road closure or you're lost or anything happens, you're not going to get there anymore. You've never really learned how to get there. But if someone teaches you to like read the map, know the signs, know the gas stations of where to turn and what to do, you can always get there, no matter if there's a GPS or not. And that's what understanding the why gives you. So write this at the bottom of your notes. Any meal that hits my calorie target and protein target is on plan. Read it back to yourself, internalize it. There is no single food that will make or break your progress. The plan is targets, calories, and protein. The foods are just how you get there. And you have infinite ways that you could get there. The ways that are going to work best for you at different moments and times, because a random Tuesday night dinner might be different than a Saturday night out with your friends. But each of those scenarios, as long as you hit the targets, the foods can be variable. And I think this is one of the biggest differences that we do in our one-on-one coaching and what Carrie's old trainer did. We don't just give you a list of foods to eat. We teach you the why behind the plan so that when life happens, and it will, you can adapt instead of falling apart. And that's the difference between a plan you follow for 6 weeks and fall off versus a skill you have for the rest of your life. And so let's quickly recap everything we've talked about here in the last hour or so. So let's look at what you've just built. If you followed along, which I really hope you did, you should have in your notes your lifestyle audit answers, your starting calorie target, your starting protein target, your meal structure with time slots labeled quick, simple, real, 2 to 3 options for every slot, and a weekend strategy. That is not a diet. That's a system that is built around your life, your schedule, and your food preferences. Nobody else on earth has that exact plan because nobody else has your exact life. And here's what I want you to remember. The perfect meal plan isn't the one with the cleanest foods or the most precise macros. The perfect meal plan is the one you'll actually follow for more than 2 weeks. If your plan has foods you enjoy, it fits into your real schedule, it accounts for the weekends, and you understand the why, behind why it works so you can adapt when things change, that is a perfect plan, not a PDF with tilapia and broccoli. And so now your homework is very simple. Go follow the plan you just made. Not perfectly, just follow it consistently. See how it feels. See where it breaks. See what's easy and what's not. And then adjust. And that's the process. You build, you test, you adjust, you repeat. Your first draft doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be honest. And that's something that we do with our clients when we onboard them and get them started. It's not like we set one plan and that's it forever. We set the plan, a week goes by, and we ask the client, "Hey, how'd that go? What was easy? What was hard? What worked? What didn't work?" All right, cool. It didn't work that we have this meal for dinner. We need to make it even more simple. Awesome. Okay, maybe the weekends are harder than we thought they were going to be. Awesome. Let's adjust. It's not that you just set a plan and if it doesn't go perfectly, you just quit, or that meant it was wrong. You build, you test, you adjust, and you repeat. And if you went through this whole episode and you thought, this is great, but Eric, can you just take out all the guesswork and build this for me and hold me accountable and adjust in real time as my life changes? The answer is yes. That's exactly what we do in our one-on-one coaching. We do everything I just walked you through, but we do it. You don't have to do it. And we personalize it to a level like I just can't do in a podcast. Your coach learns your schedule, your food preferences, your obstacles, your history, your progress pictures, where you're at, and builds something that fits you like a glove. So if that sounds like something that could benefit you, the link is in the description of the podcast below if that's what you think you need. But either way, now you have a plan. So go use it. I really appreciate you guys listening to the episode. And if you found this episode helpful, please share this with somebody. I really put a lot of time and effort and energy into this because I really wanted to help you. And I think it can help a lot of people. So share this. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And we'll chat next time.